Hi, hello, and welcome back to another video that is taking place 2 meters to the right of where I usually film my knitting podcasts. I deliberately moved in front of my bookcase because today's about books. So if you're only here for the knitting, I'm sorry. I assume you're gonna wanna skip this one. Next video is gonna be a knitting video again. So, see you next time. I'm sad you don't like reading. I am going to chat about my summer vacation reading list, all the books that I'm gonna be taking on my vacation. My vacation is 2 weeks long, one of which I'm gonna be at a cottage near a lake with lots of mosquitoes, presumably, so I can read to the mosquitoes and also to myself and my dog. And the second week, I'm just gonna float around the city and do whatever, probably. I will also going to be going to the mountains, like the actual mountains. But I don't think I'm gonna be reading there because there's not going to be any electricity, and if you're interested, no toilet. So that's nice, reconnecting with nature. If you're looking at these books, they're not in season right now. Those are autumn books. Those are, I don't know when I'm gonna read them books. Like this shelf here is my TBR in theory, but there is a bunch of books that I think I should donate because I will not be reading them. And also there is one that belongs to my boyfriend, which I will most definitely not be reading. It's this one. I love the design. The design is very cute and very inviting, but no, just no, absolutely not. So yeah, there's that. Those are to be read at some time in the future. I will be starting with the book that I'm currently reading because I'm assuming I'm not gonna be finishing it this week. It is this one. Of course, I've forgotten the English title. I'm going to be putting up the image. The English title is How Good It Is I Have No Fear of Dying. And last weekend I stepped into a bookstore and I was not planning on buying anything, but it was an indie bookstore. They had not the biggest selection of English books, and like, I personally roll my eyes at people who say, oh, I don't like reading in German, I'm so international, I can only read in English. That's me, but also that's not me, okay, hear me out. So the problem that I have with German books is, first of all, books written by German authors, like, the stories just don't interest me. I was forced to read a book by Benedict Wells once by my work's book club, and I wanted to off myself for the entirety of the 300 pages. I hated it. I still haven't been able to put my finger on what it is about German authors telling stories that I hate so much. But there's also a language aspect, because for most German books, especially when they're translated, the German language puts a sort of distance into it. Like, when I read a book in English, I can really feel with the protagonist and with all of the characters in it. But German itself is just a language that's not good at conveying emotion without being cringe. And I would say I have a pretty good sense of the German language since it is the main tool that I work with, and I also work 50% of the time with the English language. And in the English language, I personally find it much easier to describe emotions to the point. Whereas in German, you have compound nouns, and it's perfect for anything that is technical and theoretical. But I personally don't relate to the main characters as much if the book is written in German. And that is actually one gripe that I have with this. I think the translation of this one is done kind of awkwardly. So this is an account of the Ukrainian war by a lieutenant in the Ukrainian army. A female lieutenant, to be exact. I saw this lying there and I had to get it. First of all, because I wanted to support that indie bookstore. And second of all, because I want to support female voices from places where not many female voices come from, namely the army. So I knew I had to have it. And the book itself is good. I'm enjoying it. But again, on a language level, I think the translation is done somewhat awkwardly. Like some of the phrasing that they use sounds really clumsy, almost. And considering that I'm here for the knowledge and wanting to know what it's like as a woman on the front lines, that's good enough for me, but I still would have preferred for this to have been available in English to me, which it wasn't. So yeah, she is a lieutenant in a drone division, and she fought in the Donbass for a while, and then she went to a front line somewhere else. I'm not at that point of the book already, okay? But so far, it's really interesting because, for example, one thing that I learned, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, is being celebrated internationally as like this hero who is there for his country in like very dark times. And I learned that soldiers in the army actually kind of dislike him most of the time, because the way that he organizes and structures the army and the kind of personal decision that he makes, the actual soldiers are not always fond of. So that is one thing that I thought was very interesting that I did not glean from the media. So that's good. I will be finishing reading this. The next one I have had for a while sitting in my bookshelf, knowing exactly this would be the book that I take on holiday. It is Freiheit by Angela Merkel. This certainly is available in English. I haven't even taken off the plastic cover. I'm just now seeing that this was 42 euros, which is insane. Also, I love how she's standing there. It's so iconic. So due to the fact that dear Angela was chancellor for a very long time, that meant she started being a chancellor before I became politically conscious. And I've only had my like political glow up within the last 5 years, I would say. So I'm very excited to read her account of all the things that happened in Germany, because I only perceived those peripherally. And I know there's a lot of people who criticize her for a lot of the things that she did, but I personally think it's not easy to have this kind of decision-making job. You cannot always make a decision that is 100% right for everyone. But at least with this lady, we can be certain that she's making decisions in humanity's best interest. Angela, please come back. Also, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be a hefty read. I'm not sure I'm gonna be finishing this, but I want to try. So we have one sad book about war. We have one intellectually challenging book about political things that happened. So I thought I'm also gonna need a few fun books. The next one that I got, I'm gonna keep it brief. This unfortunately is not available in English yet, but if you're German, you know Svea Maus. She runs a meme account. And I really like her sense of humor and the understanding that she has for the German culture. This is about Kleinbürgerlichkeit. I'm not even sure how to say this. So about the German middle class and a woman who has not been very successful at 37. I'm pretty sure it's also about her dating people. And there is satire, humor, and disgust. And they call it intelligent. So I have not had the best experience with books by internet famous people. I didn't love Trevor Noah's book. I don't know, I thought the topic was interesting, obviously, but I didn't like the way he told the story. It's been a long time since I read that. Also, I have read books by Sophie Passmann, and that lady is not for me just as a whole person. I don't only dislike her books, I also dislike her content, so that wasn't a good idea. So I'm very interested to find out what this book is gonna be like. I hope it's not gonna be like super cringe. The next one I've had on my radar for such a long time, and I knew that when I would be getting books for my summer vacation, I had to read this. I have read a whole bunch of theoretical feminist literature, especially during lockdown, and I loved it. Like, that was a big part of my political glow up. So I'm somewhat apprehensive about like novels about womanhood. I read The Vanishing Half. It was fine. Like, I didn't have any big feelings about it. And also, I've decided to not read any books by men anymore. I'm not interested in male viewpoints anymore. I just don't give a shit. I do not need to be hearing from men. I do not need to be supporting literature written by men. Because actually, in the minority of cases, I have taken something useful from a book written by a man. With the exception of, what's his name? The Animal Farm guy. George Orwell. I was like, John Orwell? Tom Orwell? Yes, so the book that I'm reading is Die Wut, die bleibt. In English, it is called The Rage That Remains. And I bought this at the same indie bookstore that I bought the Ukrainian book about. And I had no idea what this was about, but this was so hyped. And the only thing that I knew was it is about female rage, because that's in the title. And I was like, great, I want to get into female rage. I need to be channeling my own female rage. I need to be more of a bitch, even more of a bitch. And I thought, like, reading this book that a lot of people love so much is going to be perfect. And also, I got this in German because German is the original language. And I was relieved to see that the author is Austrian, so I'm pretty optimistic that I'm not gonna have on my hands the awkwardness that is German storytelling. Also, if you're German and you know of any books that are good and not like cringe, I think Benedict Wells is cringe. I think Ewald Ahrens is cringe. And those are men too. So yeah, recommend me a good German book, please, by a woman. And I'm very excited to read this. Trigger warning, I guess. This has suicide in it. The story basically is that a mother of 2 children, and I was about to say the mother of a father that contributes nothing to the household. I guess she is mothering him, but she's not technically his mother. She gets up one day at dinner and she just jumps off the balcony. And then her best friend has to swoop in to take care of the family during lockdown also. And then the daughter starts struggling with body image and self-harm and stuff like that. I'm anticipating to be this to be kind of dark, but I know that I can gain so much from this, like knowledge-wise and emotionally, so I'm extremely excited. I think along with Angela Merkel's book, this is gonna be the first one that I pick up. And the last 3 ones that I have are gonna be like fallback reads if I have to DNF one of these, if I just hate it so much, or if I'm in a very specific reading mood. So one of them is a nonfiction book. It is When McKenzie Comes to Town. I don't know, I just have a very deep hatred against McKenzie and all the men in it. And yeah, it sounds kind of conspiratory, like the hidden influence of the world's most powerful consulting firm, but I'm pretty sure in German we say they have Dreck am Stecken. I'm pretty sure they have a lot of dirt on their stick. And this was like very highly acclaimed by critics and such. I have started reading this like probably a year or 2 ago. I got 5 pages in because this is dense as fuck. So that is probably gonna take me a very long time to read. But I really want to know what's going on. What I could gather from the first 5 pages of this is that McKinsey came into a town and they optimized all of the industry and all of the factories, and then that town was not very good to live in anymore for actual human people, because the actual human people had no job and no safety on the job, and they got injured pretty badly and a lot of people got killed. So that's already on the first 5 pages. I'm expecting there to be many more facts. Then also, I have attempted in the past to read the unabridged diaries of Sylvia Plath, is that right? Yeah, her diaries basically. And that lady wrote a lot. Like, she had a lot of diaries. Some people perceived them as very depressing. Like, obviously she unalived herself at the end of it, and if you read it knowing this is not fiction and the poor woman had to actually live through these things, then yeah, it's depressing, but I don't know. I seem to have just turned off my sense of empathy with this one and I got bored, so I DNF'd it at about 2/3. Which, yeah, I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I DNF'd it. I've seen enough. It's fine. But I think she has a very powerful way of telling stories, of stating things, and I want to read more of her poetry. I'm not very good at reading poetry. I would say I'm a book passenger princess. I'm gonna read the story, but I'm not gonna question anything in it. And I feel like with poetry, you need to think about what you're reading. And this is Ariel. It's a collection of a bunch of different poems. I don't know. Lady Lazarus, The Applicant, Morning Song. I'm just gonna be consuming pretty words. Maybe I'll think about 1 or 2 of them, but I will not be having any thoughts beyond that. No thoughts on vacation. That's illegal. And the last one that I'm bringing, just because it's so small, and maybe once I'm through with the feminist rage, I want to read more feminist literature. This is like the origin of feminist literature, I would say. I don't think I have to say much about this. Yeah. I thought it was gonna be very short, but it has like 100 pages, but look at how small the text is. I thought that was gonna be a quick like little palate cleanser in between Angela Merkel and Sylvia Plath. And then I'm still deciding on 2 more books. The first one, I did pick that up when I was browsing the indie bookstore. It is called The Eyes Are the Best Part, and one thing you need to know about me as a reader, I love genocide, I love cannibalism, I love cults. These are the top 3 things that I love reading about. Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I love that. I just love women eating people. I know there's a bunch of books with that exact trope. I should be reading those when I get around to it, but I picked up the German version of The Eyes Are the Best Part, and it had really awesome sprayed edges. It had eyeballs on it. But I flipped through it and I realized I cannot read it in German. I personally think that Japanese, especially, and Asian authors have a very distanced way of telling stories. They're very distanced from their main characters. And the German language bringing even more distance into it, that is gonna be too much for me. So I gotta be reading this in English, and I'm still debating whether I should order it. I really want to read this, like this is a non-negotiable for me. This is about a family, and the daughter very strongly dislikes her stepdad, and I don't think this is a spoiler because I'm not sure, but I'm hoping she's gonna eat him. That's what I'm here for. I want to see that girl eat her stepdad. And if she's not gonna be eating her stepdad, I'm gonna be so disappointed. So yeah, I will probably be ordering that in the English version. And then one tradition that I have is I read one book by John Steinbeck every summer, because John Steinbeck for me is the perfect summer holiday read. I've read Of Mice and Men, I have read Tortilla Flat, and last year I read The Grapes of Wrath. And he does it like no one else, that he conveys this feeling of like a super hot and dry and dusty summer. Like obviously Grapes of Wrath is about Oklahoma and the droughts and the hunger and the homelessness and the unemployment. It is a brilliant critique of capitalism. I loved it so much, like especially American capitalism and the way that they did the industrialization. I loved it. I learned so much. And the plot was kind of slow, which I don't tend to like, but when you're on holiday, you can take your time. And also the ending of that is still haunting me. I have still so many questions. And I wanted to read East of Eden, and the indie bookstore that I went to, they actually had it in English, but they only had the ugly edition, like I think the Penguin Modern Classics with like the mint green. I think these are so ugly. I'm really sorry to anyone who likes these, but I think these are fucking ugly. Like I appreciate that there's artwork, but it's not cute. It's not pretty. I think all of these books that I have are pretty ugly. Like what's a pretty book? Let me see. That is a pretty book. I'm gonna be reading that in fall. Like, this is so beautiful. Look at the bird. That's a pretty book. That's what I want my books to look like. But I guess we can't have nice things, can we? So yeah, I'm gonna be looking out for a pretty edition of Steinbeck's Easterwieden. And I'll probably not get to it, but a girl can dream. So these are all of my holiday reads. I'm hoping to make, like, occasionally some book videos. I'm so German, ich bin Deutsch, ich kann keinen Satzbau. I'm hoping to occasionally make some book videos. They're not gonna be taking over my content, don't worry. This channel is still gonna be about knitting. But I think talking about books is fun and reading is fun. So please let me know what you are reading currently, and please drop your favorite summer books below. I need to curate my reading list for next year. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you next time. Bye!